Hi, welcome to Tastefully Home. I'm Jen.
And I'm Melissa, and today we will be making a couple different dishes that I think, now that it's football season and football's starting out, and you know the guys like to have something to grab and sit on the couch with on Sundays or Monday nights. We're going to make a couple dishes that I think would be perfect for football parties or just for, you know, a fast meal at home.
Oh, good.
The first thing we're making would be Italian steak and cheese sandwiches. And my dad's from the East Coast, and there's nothing better than an authentic steak and cheese sandwich. I don't know how authentic these are, but it'll definitely be good.
Oh, good.
And then after we've got the steak and cheese sandwiches going, we're going to try our hand at making a bloomin' onion.
Now, I've had them at restaurants, but I've never made them before, so I'm excited.
I am too, and it doesn't seem very difficult, but you know, we never know. We might get into it and think it's better at a restaurant than it would be in our own house.
We haven't had good luck at deep frying, so we are going to try it again.
Exactly.
And hopefully it'll work out.
We don't scare very easily, so yeah. So we'll start off with the steak and cheese sandwich. The ingredients that you need for that, very few ingredients, would be, first of all, Miracle Whip. And we happen to have the fat-free. It doesn't matter, but it does say that you can use either the regular or the light or fat-free. 1 medium onion. And then you need 2 peppers. It says either green or red, so we have one green and 1 red.
Perfect.
You need some zesty Italian salad dressing and the actual roast beef itself. And I just bought this roast beef at the deli and had them cut it into some thicker pieces. You know, usually they're so thin, but these are just a little thicker too.
Okay, so if you cooked a roast, you could use your leftover roast beef.
I think you probably could. It does say, it does say thinly sliced. Okay. So if you did slice it, I think you could probably do that.
All right,
so
be a good leftover recipe.
Yeah. Then some shredded mozzarella cheese, and that goes on top after everything's been cooked.
Okay.
And then finally, just some French rolls, or these are hoagie rolls, or you know, the sub sandwich rolls, whatever you want to call them. And you can just pick those up, you know, at the bakery as well.
And I suppose you could use the buns.
I think so. I don't think it matters. You know, just this is the Italian steak and cheese, so you know we've got the longer loaves, but I don't think it really matters what type of bread you use, right? Okay. So
and you could make bunwiches. Have you heard of that?
You could do that. Yeah, Stacey I have heard of that. So
bunwiches. It's like a sandwich made on a bun.
On a bun.
Yeah. Made sense to me.
Well, it makes sense to me too. Whatever you have handy, you use, right? So, well, I think the first thing we'll do is we need to slice the onion. Okay. And then I can slice up the peppers, so we can go ahead and do that.
And does it say how thin?
You know, it doesn't say how thin, but it just says slice. So I would think fairly thin. Okay. You know, if you think of the different sub restaurants that you maybe buy subs at, you know, maybe to look like their onions, so.
Okay, so you mean like you want rings?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not chopping.
No, right. You're not chopping. You're just slicing into thin rings. So get the seeds out of our pepper here.
This glass,
I know,
it's very noisy.
Noisy.
Trying to be quiet.
So my mother-in-law gave me this recipe, so I have to give her some credit for this.
Has she made it before at home?
She has. Okay. And according to my husband, nobody cooks like his mom, so including his wife, right? Exactly. So I do believe if she says it's good, then I'm sure that it's definitely good. So
he's had this recipe then before.
Steve has not. No, this is a newer recipe that she just recently found, and she knew that we did the show and said, "Oh, I've got the best recipe for you." So she gave me this recipe and said we should try it because she said it couldn't be screwed up. So
little does she know.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully
really with the ingredients.
I don't think so.
You can't.
I really don't think that it can.
You can't go wrong. All right. I'm gonna really try not to cut my fingers. All right. Do we have to do all of it, do you think? Or
I don't think you have to do all of it necessarily. So otherwise, it'll be a little overwhelming with onion.
It'll be a lot of onion. Right. I like onion, but not that much. And are these actually being cooked on, or is this something you put on top
This is something that's cooked beforehand. Okay. The onions and the peppers together.
Okay. So they'll be kind of tender then.
Exactly. So the next step is you want a larger skillet on medium heat, and this one is ready to go. And you need 2 tablespoons of the Miracle Whip. So we'll put those on. And then once you get the 2 tablespoons of Miracle Whip in here, then you put it's a little generous, I guess, but I don't think that'll hurt. Then you put the onions and the peppers in, and it would almost be like sauteing them basically. So you cook them so they become tender. So I'll let you add those if you want to.
I have never, ever put Miracle Whip in a frying
Nor
pan.
have I.
All right, I'll be right back with the onions.
You do something different all the time, I guess. So. And it's very hot, so just lift it up.
And I only did half an onion, so.
Okay, that's right. And I mean, that's a lot of onion anyway.
Yeah.
So then we just saute this, mix it around in the dressing or the Miracle Whip. And you just want them to become tender. And you can smell them actually with the Miracle Whip, and it smells pretty good.
So they'll just kind of
turn the heat down a little bit as it's
slowly soften.
exactly.
It's nice and colorful too.
Yeah, see, that's why I thought, because it says green or red peppers, but I thought if you do one of each, it does have a little more color to it.
I've had steak sandwiches with just onion before
Right.
on them and cheese, but I like the green pepper.
Oh yeah, and I've had them with I'm not a huge onion fan,
Okay.
but I've had them with just the pepper, and I do like the pepper. And the nice thing about this is we'll cook the meat separately from the peppers and the onions, so if you're not a big onion or pepper fan, you don't have to have them on, or you don't have to have as much, in the sandwich if you don't want to. I think I'll just let them sit for a second.
Yeah, turning the heat down definitely helped that mayonnaise really.
Right, it's
cooked quick, didn't it?
Very quickly. And being the fact that it's the fat-free too, maybe adds part of that to it as well. So I think I'll let you mix them up for a second.
Okay.
We've had the onions and the peppers going for about 5 minutes, and you want them to go about 5 minutes, and like you
They're
even
getting-
mentioned too, they're just starting to soften
Yep,
a little.
softens, kind of stringy.
And wilt. So you, at that point, then you want to take them off and put them into the bowl. And we just, because like we said, we cook those separately.
Okay.
And then we start preparing the meat.
Okay.
And what we need for the meat then, I'll just step behind you here for a second, is we need the rest of the Miracle Whip. So I guess it would be a half cup shy of the 2 tablespoons that we already put in. So we'll put this back in. But the recipe calls for 3/4 pound of meat. I have a pound of meat. So I think if we make a little extra, have a little extra Miracle Whip, it's not going to hurt or anything. So I'll let you put that in if you want to. Again, cooking up the old Miracle Whip. All right. And then so you put the Miracle Whip in, and then you have a 1/4 cup of the zesty Italian salad dressing. So we'll put that in too.
I'm just going to mix this together.
Yep, just mix it together. And then you also, once you get those 2 things combined a little bit, that's when you put in the meat.
Okay.
And like I said, I have a pound here, and I had to cut it a few different times, but I just got a little thicker. Usually it's so paper thin.
Yeah.
And I like it that way generally, but for this sandwich, I thought it would be best to have thicker slices.
Putting them all in there?
I think I'll let you just kind of mix them up at first, and you can even get a
Yeah, we're going to need
spatula.
something.
Maybe flip them a little bit.
Turn the heat up a bit. Does it say about medium heat?
Yeah, you just want to let it cook on about medium heat again, just like we did with the onions. And just, I don't even think they have to be flat if we just kind of...
So we're just going to get that flavor basically
Put them all in
on
there,
them.
right, and just, again, I'm not really sauteing the meat, but we're just trying to flavor the meat
Yeah.
and get
And it's already cooked, so we don't need to worry about it.
Right.
We're just going to warm them up. Transfer some of that flavor. The heat.
So you cook the meat again for another 5 minutes, or it says until it's thoroughly heated through.
Okay.
It's been about 5 minutes, and you can see that the meat is definitely absorbing the Miracle Whip and the salad dressing.
It just has a different color to
It does.
it, which
Different color, and the meat, now that I'm working with it, the meat is definitely more tender as well.
okay.
So, and I think it smells very good. So, should we go put a sandwich together?
Sure.
Okay. Grab our
I've got a
pepper mixture and grab our
and I've just
Okay.
taken the bun and sliced it.
right, and that's all you need to do.
Okay.
And I can move this out of the way. What it tells you to do first is to put the meat mixture on, or not mixture, but the meat slices on, and we'll maybe just put, it is very hot, so I wouldn't recommend, you know, using your hands or anything if you've got
On a fork, maybe?
Maybe a fork would work well, actually. I guess that's gonna come off on that too. I'll just put a couple of slices, yikes, on that one. And then you put the peppers on top.
Okay.
So we'll just, the peppers are still warm. They're not as warm maybe as they would have been if they come off, but they're, oh yeah, they're still nice and warm. And
But
then
you could do them in 2 separate frying pans at the same time
Yeah.
if you really want them. And then just sprinkle with cheese.
yep, and then just sprinkle with some of the mozzarella cheese.
Oh, it looks so good.
It does.
Smells so good.
You know, I was just thinking this. Aren't the Italian flag, aren't the colors white and red and green? So it's very much an Italian sandwich, I guess. So yeah, it looks very good. I think this would be a hit at any football party with the guys. Stacy would like it. You've got the cheese and you've got the meat. We're about ready to.
It's quick and easy.
Oh, definitely. Very quick and easy. Very few ingredients and, you know, something you can whip up very quickly. Okay, now that we've got our great sandwich, we need a great side to go along with it, so that's where the bloomin' onion comes into play, and it's very simple. You just need a 1/4 cup of flour, you need 1 egg, and then you need 1 tablespoon of milk. We did decide though that we have a very large onion, and you'll see that in a second, that we're going to double the batter mixture, because if you have extra batter, you simply throw it away.
Yep.
And I think the more batter, the better, basically.
That's right.
So I will.
And this is just such a simple
It's
recipe.
very simple. And maybe actually while you're putting in the flour,
Okay.
I will just briefly tell people. The onion, what you want is you want to find a very large onion, and what you need to do is you need to cut off one end of the onion so it can sit flat. And then you need to just take a very sharp knife and start at the top and cut vertically down into the onion, but leaving about a 1/2 inch at the bottom of the onion. So you just keep cutting vertically. It's at about 3/8 to 1/4 inch apart, the cut should be. Once you've cut the entire onion, you turn it at a 90-degree angle, and then you do the
And cut the
exact
other
same
way.
thing. Right. So, and then at that point, you're supposed to put it in cold water for an hour, and then the onion actually blooms. But we found that when we cut it, it really
bloomed.
blooms by itself.
Yep, it did.
You know, so you want to let it sit in the cold water for a while anyway.
And I think the water will help the batter stick to the onion as well. So.
Exactly. I'm just going to take the onion out now and set it into your little strainer, and hopefully this isn't a disaster.
And it fits.
And it fits, right? Okay.
Such a big onion. Pour the batter over
just
top.
coat the onion with the batter, and I'm glad we doubled it.
Yes. Might even have to triple it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing a few onions, you know, you could
Right.
really make up a lot of batter and then
We can even just, you know,
use smaller onions.
rotate it around
Yeah.
in there too. And then we just stick it in the very hot grease. It doesn't give us a temperature until it's golden brown. Okay, we've got our sandwich and our blooming onion.
And it bloomed.
And it bloomed, it did bloom. So, and it's just, like we said, it's kind of the perfect football meal.
It is.
And very easy, very fast.
Not a
and-
lot of cleanup.
No, exactly, which is the greatest thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, this has been Tastefully Home. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Jen, and we'll see you next week.